There were 554 veterans who passed away in Winnebago County in 2025, according to Veterans Memorial Hall. In recognition of Memorial Day, dozens gathered at North Burritt Cemetery to honor the fallen veterans of Burritt Township Sunday. WIFR's Bria Walters talks with organizers and speakers about what the ceremony means ahead of the holiday's 158th anniversary.
Rooted in 150 years of history, a presentation of colors and a roll call for veterans at Burritt Cemetery is a symbol of closure to families of soldiers who gave their life for the country.
There's no place like this country.
Tom Stockberger served in the U.S. Army from 1962 to 1968. He says being part of the ceremony like Burritt's is fundamental for him, especially around Memorial Day.
Well, what it means to me is freedom, and we've been in a lot of different countries. There's no place like the United States.
This specific event began in 1995. Since then, Burritt resident and Air Force veteran Richard McCrae has dug to find more history of the burial site.
The program has been going on at least 150 to 160 years. We've never been able to figure out how far back it went.
A roll call of around 120 soldiers is read. The graves of those soldiers marked with American flags waving proudly.
It's a labor of love, let's put it that way. And I ask people if they can help out in any way, and boy, they step forward.
One of the people who steps forward each year is Suzanne Crandall. To her, honoring veterans is personal.
One brother, Jimmy, was killed just before Vietnam. They were practicing and landing on terrain similar to Vietnam.
A special part of Sunday's event is Winnebago middle schooler Antonino Di Benedetto, who read an essay he wrote about symbols of America.
Symbols help us get through everyday life because, you know, it's something that we can look up to.
The United States are very bald eagle that soars through our stars every day.
Crandall is thankful for those who are involved every year and hopes it's around for many more.
Several generations just in my lifetime, grandchildren coming to celebrate, and then later on they are grandchildren.
The cemetery itself goes back to 1812, according to Crandall. She says she can specifically trace ancestors back to the Revolutionary War, and she knows many families that can do the same and have members buried at the site.
General John Logan proclaimed Decoration and Memorial Day on May 5th, 1868, and it was first observed 25 days later when people placed flowers on graves of soldiers at Arlington National Cemetery.